CrossFit is stupid. Now, that's what I've said for many, many years, up until I was about 24, and realized that so long as we're keeping people moving, we're doing a pretty damn good job. The big challenge though with CrossFit is that you take what the pros do, and it's sort of the same argument as like strongman is not good for your health, which of course it's not, because you're lifting maximal loads, you're pushing your body past what it's capable of, and in the end sometimes that causes you to break down. And CrossFit's the same way. So when you look at how CrossFit Games are planned, oftentimes when you're dealing with the best in the world, you're going to program things in a way that make it particularly challenging on the body. Let's say you do a squat into a deadlift into a clean, like that is massively challenging on the posterior chain and your back is going to blow out. But that's the goal. When it's a competition and when you're at the professional level, that's what you should be doing. Now, when you take it back to local level and just getting people moving, the biggest difficulty is that every CrossFit box, it's sort of up to the person who runs it. Do you want to follow that style of programming? Do you want to follow more holistic? And in the end, like, CrossFit has a whole bunch of fundamental movement patterns that they believe are fundamental skills that they believe encompass fitness. And they're really quite basic. I don't know, I think there's 7 of them. I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's pretty common sense. It's things like aerobic fitness and strength and coordination and power. Yeah, I mean, if you accomplish all those things, you're gonna be really fit and you're gonna be really healthy. And there's boxes who do a fantastic job at programming in a way that the average person can succeed. I think the only time you really get into challenge, and when people often hate on CrossFit and call it stupid, is when you do, say, something like a high rep clean and jerk with someone who's not proficient at doing a clean and jerk in the first place. Like myself, for example, if I were to do heavy clean and jerk for reps, which actually I have done, it's a disaster. Like my back is blown out, my forearms are blown out, my form breaks down, and in the end that becomes really dangerous for me because your strength level and your skill level have such a discrepancy. In strongman, that's why we'll see people will go and they'll be very strong overhead. They'll go to bench and say this is sort of what happened with Thor. I think he was benching 250 and he tore his pec. Well, because his strength level is so high, but his skill level in that particular area didn't have the same amount of time to catch up, or his tendons didn't have the same amount of time to catch up, I should probably say. So that's what happens with CrossFit. Because if you take zero skill, even if you're not particularly strong, that zero skill is going to have to be balanced out with some sort of strength. I mean, you're strong enough to exist as a human being, so you're automatically stronger than your skill allows you to be. And that's where a really smart and a really good coach is going to help you to be able to get there. But let's just talk about fundamentals of exercise first. I mean, what are we actually trying to accomplish with all of this? And in the end, 99% of people are not trying to be the fittest on the earth. They're not trying to be the strongest. They're actually just trying to be the better version of themselves. They're trying to get themselves moving. They're trying to get themselves healthy. And CrossFit's a great way to do that. Any type of movement that's not going to have you hurt is going to be useful. So, of course, there's a breadth. There's a breadth of skills of coaches. There's a breadth of skills of boxes. Some boxes do want to push you and see what you're capable of. Some will say, okay, where are you and how can we make you a little bit healthier? There are physiotherapists who are on boxes. There are chiropractors who are on boxes. There are exercise physiologists who are on boxes. It's all across the board. There's doctors who are on boxes. So there's really no way to say, this is actually a good thing. This is actually a bad thing. Now, if you take strongman and you take CrossFit, I actually think these are the two perfect ways for people to be fit long-term. You take something like strongman and you take an overweight person who's never really exercised in their life before. They don't have a whole lot of coordination, and you put them into the gym for the first time. And say you want them to go for a run on the treadmill, or you want them to do some type of metabolic conditioning, they're gonna blow out in basically straight away. But if you take that person and you put them into heavier strength training, well, they're gonna be strong pretty early and they're gonna experience success virtually right away. And that person, when they experience success, they can now feel like this is something that I can be successful in, this is something that I can do, this is something I can be, a space where I can be confident. And a space where they can be confident where they otherwise might not be. Now, you take the CrossFit side of things, and let's say someone's a little bit more, they've got an athletic background, say they used to play football, or they used to dance, or be a gymnast or something. You can only do that for so long. The North American structure is so different to what I experienced in Australia, where in Australia, you're more than able to go play adult community sport at any level. And you can go play rugby, you can go play basketball, and it's everywhere. But in North America, we really only have reverence for the best. And if you're an adult and you're not playing the best, or you're not an ex-college player at the very, very competitive level, there's really no like intramural style, fun type leagues that are available en masse. I'm sure they exist in some cities. But you take these ex-athletes and people who are competitive and like to push themselves, a lot of these people will end up being incredibly overweight, fairly sedentary, because their whole form of exercise before was completely predicated on them being able to test themselves and test themselves against other people. And CrossFit's a great way to do that. So they can go, they can learn new skills, their body can be capable of more things, and they're gonna be capable to do more over the long run, which to me is really special and equally as important as someone who's not exercising, getting into the gym for the first time. So really, broad strokes, strongman can be good for sedentary, overweight people who haven't done anything before, and it can be good right away. CrossFit can be good for an ex-athlete who needs to stay moving, or someone who's got a base of fitness, who maybe needs to add a bit of strength training in, but their body and their joints aren't robust enough to be able to go into heavy maximal lifts. And that's really largely genetic. You know, my knees weren't built for marathon running. They started to fall apart a bit, but I can heavy squat and I'm completely fine, and other people will be the complete opposite of that. So, for those people who hate CrossFit, why? What's your problem? I really don't understand. You know, sometimes there's bad workouts. Okay, look, I'm sure if you programmed 100 workouts, if I programmed 100 workouts, one of them we could probably look and go, okay, that's stupid, that's a terrible workout. But in the end, if load selection is right in a terrible, terrible quote unquote workout, you'll still be fine. And this is where we need to make sure we're monitoring load, intensity, and volume. And those are the things that we're actually more concerned about than what is the movement and what is the workout and how are these two workouts put together, where you're not trying to do a max deadlift and a max squat if you haven't earned the right to do so. You haven't spent a several number of weeks being able to go and look and go, okay, this is how we're gonna peak myself up to do that. That's, to me, that's really the only caveat. Otherwise, go for your life. Movement is medicine, movement is good. I'll wrap it up with my favorite little exercise stat. If you're someone who is sedentary and does not smoke, you will live for a shorter time than someone who is active and smokes. If you're someone who is active and obese, you will live longer than someone who is sedentary and of normal weight. There's no variable that you can give that's more powerful than exercise. There's nothing that's a negative health consequence that's as negative as exercise is positive. Of course, if you're like an alcoholic drinking 500 drinks a day or something, that's a different story. But everything within reason, everything in the norm of society that we say is unhealthy, you're gonna live longer if you just exercise. So for those of you who are looking to get started, that's your number one thing. Find something you enjoy, find something you can stick to. Who cares what it is? Even if it's just going for a walk, just start doing something and build off of that. If you need a bit of structure, you want to get into your strength training, I've got my programs on my website. There are many, many people who have great programs out there. So if you're interested, go check those out. But moral of the story, get out there and move. And if you call any form of exercise stupid, you're probably a bit nearsighted and you're probably passing it off before you fully know what it's about. Thanks a lot, guys. Lift heavy, be kind, and we'll catch you next time.